Linda Bernard, and welcome to Chop It Up with Attorney Linda Bernard, also Detroit Police Commissioner Linda Bernard. You can watch us, listen to us, even record us on all of the social media platforms, including YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, etc. I'd appreciate it if you'd let us know what you think about what we're doing and about this show, and you could call us at 313 355 6018. Again, this is being broadcast live. The telephone number is area code 313 355 6018. We're coming to you live today on WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. It's phenomenal. And our broadcasters here and our broadcast manager, Mr. Roger Penzabany, does a fabulous job in bringing you the real deal here from Detroit to the whole world. So I look forward to hearing from you, and please feel free to contact me at that number again, 313 355 6018. I'm going to be talking to you today about some things that are really near and dear to my heart. The first, of course, is the police department. I'm one of 7 elected police commissioners in Detroit. The mayor has 4 appointees as well, but I'm elected from District 2, the largest district in the city of Detroit. And I'm very proud about that because it shows that my community has confidence in my ability to articulate issues regarding the police. And we all know what the police do. They're sworn to protect and serve. Sometimes they get a little confused about what that means and the appropriate processes and policies. But in Detroit, we have a strict model for what we call constitutional policing. Actually, it's a term that was coined by our former President Obama. There's a whole manual on this. So if you want to know what constitutional policing is, you can certainly look at that. But you can also look to the policies that have been implemented by the Detroit Police Department. I want to give you a little data. Each week we have a police commission meeting, and this data is provided by Zoom to anyone who wants to listen in and watch in. But I think that the overall global community needs to have a sense of what's happening in terms of law enforcement in a major urban area like the city of Detroit. First thing that has comes to mind for me and may for you as well, is what is this increase in crime related to? Well, a great deal of it, believe it or not, is related to mental illness. And let me just give you the facts related to the mental health runs that the Detroit Police Department has done just this year to date, in comparison with last year. We've had 3,084 calls for mental health service. When you call 911, you say, my brother's going crazy, my husband's doing this or that or the other, and he's on meds, or he's not on meds, or he's irrational and he's dangerous. That's a mental health run. We've had already, in just 3 months this year, 3,084 of those runs. And that's just the calls for service. And we've serviced of those calls 2,763 calls. Now, you think of the police being there to protect you from rape or robbery or murder or something like that, something serious. But many times people with mental health issues obviously break the law or are in the process of trying to break the law, and we have to respond to that. And we have a special response team that deals with that, including the fact that we have mental health counselors in every precinct. But let me just give you a sense of what's going on here, the type of calls you get for, quote, mental calls. And they are, number one, mental health not violent. The person won't do something or is blocking the way, and you'd have to hurt them to move them away, any of those kinds of calls. Mental health not violent. Of those stats I just gave you for calls for service, 668 of those were for those types of calls. Mental, violent, armed. When a person has access to a gun or a knife, and they're threatening someone with that gun, knife, or other weapon, then we've had 320 of those so far, a year to date. In terms of mental violent, but not armed. Somebody who's attacking you, like me or you, and they're fighting us, but they're not armed, but anything but their hands, their fists, their legs, their feet. Of those, 1,177 calls when a person with mental health issues has simply sort of gone, either not taking their meds or whatever, sort of gone berserk, and they're a threat to you. So they are violently attacking you. Another mental health area which we never which we don't talk about a lot, is suicide. Of those calls we've had, 309. And unfortunately, the people that are committing suicide now are younger than ever. We've really got to pay attention to people when they're talking about the fact that they are considering suicide, would commit suicide, etc. So 309 people called with suicide ideations. So and then 610 calls threatening suicide. I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to kill myself. So when someone says that to you, you call the police, and the police respond. And we try, of course, we're trained to try to talk them down from that. But the bottom line is that we've had 3,084 calls, mental health calls. This isn't the breaking and entering and rape or any of that kind of stuff type of calls. So I want everyone to be aware of the issues regarding mental health, and be particularly acutely aware of them when it comes to you and your own family, because these issues are important. And suicide is, of course, as you know, illegal. So you really don't want to encourage that, and you want to be able to be of assistance in any way that you can. Now, I know that those of you who are watching me, perhaps from Detroit, are interested in the crime stats in your area, your precinct, where you live. So I'm going to provide that to you in the 5 capital areas where there's criminal activity. Incidentally, these are the same areas in every city. Every city does not keep mental health run data like we do. That's unique to Detroit. But all cities keep data on what we call major crimes. And major crimes are homicide, criminal homicide, sexual assault, i.e. rape, aggravated assault, i.e. I use a weapon to hurt you, or I shoot you but you didn't die, robbery, because that's personal. To rob me, you've got to do something to my body, to my person, grabbing my purse, whatever it is you're doing, you're robbing me. And sometimes it's at gunpoint as well. Burglary, which is when I burglarize your home, and of course you're terrified, especially if you're in the house when this is happening. Larceny and motor vehicle theft. Larceny is just ordinary theft, like when you go into a store and what they call smash and grab, all that kind of stuff. That's all larceny in various levels, and in most instances it's a felony. And then finally, motor vehicle theft, which is which has risen incredibly, and I'm going to give you that data in a minute. But before I tell you that, I think you should know that automobile theft has risen 220% in Chicago. Can you believe that? From last year. So I don't understand it, and perhaps those of you who know a lot about cars or anything a lot about cars, and I guess chop shops, etc., can understand it. But a 220% increase in automobile thefts in Chicago is major. And we've had a tremendous increase in motor thefts as well. In fact, the increase in Detroit has been 32%, 32.6%. Year to date, just in the last few months, January, February, March, not even March yet, January, February, we've had 1,848 motor vehicle thefts. There have been 45 homicides, 92 sexual assaults, almost 1,700 aggravated assaults where people have been shot, 260 robberies, 816 burglaries from either businesses or homes, and 2,500 larcenies. Now, how does that stack up, really, to be honest? I mean, I give you those numbers, but, in the absence of a real perspective, you can't perhaps understand it. But what that means is that homicides are up in Detroit 12.5%. From 40 year to date last year at this time to now 45 in 2023. Sexual assaults have been going down, which I'm very happy about, for the last couple of years. Sexual assaults are actually down in Detroit year to date as compared to 2022 by almost 24%. There were 92 sexual assaults so far this year that have been and there were 120. I'm sorry, yes, 120 in year to date this same time of year last year in 2022. So, but we've gone down 23% in sexual assaults. I'm very happy about that. I'm happy about the choices. It tells me that the choices that people are making, young and old, regarding violating anyone's person sexually, be they female or male, is improving. That you're making better choices. Criminal sexual conduct is a very serious offense. It can put you in jail for more than 20 years. It's just not worth it. So please, if you're even considering it, when a girl says no or a guy says no, it means no. Don't go forward, because if it is, you'll be charged with criminal sexual assault in the first, second, or third degree. Third degree, for your example, for example, is if you just put your hand on somebody's behind. That's third degree criminal sexual conduct, and that's a felony. And then, of course, you have to register as a sex offender wherever you live for the rest of your life. And of course, it's a terrible offense to have, because it automatically shows up on your records, and you're automatically in that whole system. So please, no means no. If it doesn't even if she's drunk, don't even think about it. If he's drunk, don't even think about it. Just leave it alone. Just keep it moving, my brothers and my sisters. On the issue of aggravated assault, now this is a real problem, and I need your help in addressing it. The mayor recently asked for help in his State of the City address. The number of crimes committed with guns is serious, and the number of people who are shot is serious. I mean, I want you so much to make good choices that don't let that anger get you. Just let me give you an example. 3 days ago, I was talking to a young man who had everything in the world going for him. Everything. I mean, he had prestige, he had money, he had a political office, he had everything. And we were talking, and he got in trouble with a gun case because he actually shot up a car, up his girlfriend, ex-wife's car. And he said to me, and I want you to listen, and please pay attention and ask everyone in your life to do this. He said to me, he said, Linda, if my gun had not been readily available, that never would have happened. If I had locked up the gun in a lockbox for a gun, if I had done that, by the time I fiddled and got the box open, I would have calmed down. But in the heat of anger, in the heat of passion, we do things. Our endorphins are firing off in our brain, and we do all kinds of things, or think about what we shouldn't do. But when just the fumbling to try to open the lock on a gun lockbox, he said, would have stopped him from ruining his life. And that meant a lot to me. And so I urge you again and again and again. Number one, and of course we've had about 20 kids already shot this year by playing with guns that were not in a lockbox, or that did not have a gun lock on them. Please, 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 make sure that you secure, if you have a weapon, legal or illegal, secure it in a safe manner. One, so no one else will get caught. Get hurt, pardon me, and two, so that when you are really mad at me, when you're really mad at Linda, and I'm, saying, just really messing with your mind, messing with your ego, maybe messing with your manhood, messing with anything, or your womanhood, put that gun in a place that it's going to take you some time to go get it unlocked and bring it back. By that time, the white heat of the moment, you may have disappeared, and you may have cooled off. Your brain will start to function in that properly, because right then you were acting out of passion. When you act out of passion, it's always, downhill. When your brain kicks back in properly, then you'll be able to go forward. So, aggravated assault. That's shooting, even me in the hand, arm, anywhere, doesn't matter. Uh, is up in Detroit by just about 5%. Year to date in 2022, there were 1,549 aggravated assault cases, assaults with a gun. Currently, there's 1,625. So that's almost a 5% increase. So let's put those guns down, please, my brothers and my sisters. Um, and now that in the city of Detroit, the U.S. Attorney's Office is taking these cases, and now it's not just a state charge. Now they will take it to the federal government, and you will get a federal charge, federal time, and tremendously increased penalties. And federal prisons are everywhere. You won't be in Milan. You could be anywhere. You'll be out of Michigan almost certainly. So, and you won't. That means you won't be able to see your family, your kids, or anything. So please, put those guns away, lock them up so you'll have a chance to cool off. And no, don't be like my friend who has ruined his whole life and didn't even shoot a person, shot at a car. Anyway, the next category of serious crimes, major crimes is what we call it actually, is robbery. Robbery's up about 17%. Year to date, we've had 260 robberies, which is down. And this time last year, we only had 222. So robbery is up. I don't know if it's a circumstance, and you probably know better than me, what makes a person rob a person, I guess, need in part, if you think they have money and you don't have any money, etc. But I think that may be a reflection of the increase in poverty in America and certainly in Detroit. But again, any crime committed with a gun is a very, very serious felony. You're looking at you're looking at real time in prison, and obviously having your life ruined. Burglary. That's when you break in somewhere. We all know what that is. Either my house, your house, or my business, or your business. And that currently, there have only been 816 burglaries this year so far. And that's a 7% decrease from 2022. So burglary is down, which is great. Let's keep it that way. Because number one, when you burglarize an establishment, now with all the cameras and stuff they have, you're almost always caught. It's a major felony, and you're really going to go away for at least 10 years. That's a problem. But more importantly than that, you're also being videoed. You can't really break in anymore and not see your face, because people have cameras everywhere, and those devices really work. And quite frankly, it's what we at the police department do in order to catch you. We have, of course, eons of film, eons of stuff that's on Facebook and this and that and the other. That's all we do. All we need is your picture. And usually within 24 hours we have you, because we can identify from your picture where you eat, where you drink, where you live, who your girlfriend is, the things that you like to do. Because unfortunately these days people are living their life on Facebook. They take pictures of the food they're going to eat. They take pictures of everything. Them and their friends. They take pictures with their gun. They take pictures with stacks of money. How dumb can you be? You're just handing us the evidence that we need to lock you up for a long, long, long time. So if you want to live in a 6x9 box with another adult that you don't even know, then keep doing. Then continue to burglarize. And you think that you've thought of everything, and sometimes you'll have a mask on, or certainly the mask that we use for COVID, but it doesn't work. It really doesn't work. Your eyes are almost always relative. Your hands will show. We can figure out how tall you are from the video, approximately how much you weigh. And we just put those 3 or 4 things in a computer, and guess what? your face and a lot of other faces will come up. And then we start to refine it and refine it even more. It could be a ring that you had, it could be a glove, could something that you've used before, and we'll find you. So burglary is definitely a crime where you're most likely to get caught because of the fact everybody is filming everything now. Even if you break in a house and it's the baby's room, there's a baby monitor in there. I mean everything. Everybody's videoing everything. So no burglary. As a matter of fact, just no crime. Larceny. Larceny is when you steal from somebody and there's no weapon involved, and that in Detroit has gone up some. Larceny, or it can be larceny from a building, as you know. In 2022, there were 2,300 cases of larceny. Year to date in 2023, it's been 2,457, roughly a 6.8% increase. So, you know, don't steal. There's so many programs and things these days that give away food, clothes, everything. Try to hook up with one of those agencies. So, and then finally, the big kahunga is motor vehicle theft, which is what I was saying earlier. And that is a real problem in Detroit. And I can't quite understand it because why there's this tremendous increase in motor vehicle theft. There are 450 more cases in these 3 months, the 2.5 months, over what we had at this period last year. Currently, there have been 1,848 motor vehicle thefts where you steal the car. This time last year, it was 1,394. That's a tremendous increase. That's almost a 33% increase in motor vehicle thefts. And so today, I believe it's a Saturday, the police. Oh, I think I forgot about it. The police department was giving away clubs that go on the steering wheel, and of course wheel locks, which are equally important. Clubs and wheel locks. So if you don't have those things, please get them. You may have to buy them. We were giving them away for free, but I think that program just ended yesterday. So please make sure that your vehicle is properly secured at all times. Having said that, those are our crime stats. Now, if you want to know, let me take a real quick station break here. You're watching Attorney Linda Bernard on Chop It Up with Attorney Linda Bernard, also Detroit Police Commissioner Linda Bernard. You're watching us on WJZZ, Cool TV, the coolest station in the entire world. You can watch us, listen to us, comment to us at any time. You can call us. Call in during the show and let us know what you think. 313-355-6018. Again, 313-355-6018. You can see us all over the world. We're on the internet. You can watch YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, any and all social media platforms. I'm excited to say. So, if you have any questions about about this show or about our media presentation here at WJZZ Cool TV, please feel free to contact me. Now, those stats on crime, every department, the stats that I just gave you, whether you're in Detroit or you're in New York or Los Angeles, doesn't matter where you are. Every department keeps these stats in these categories, so you can ask your police station, not police station, but any of your command posts in your city for their stats on these issues. And again, I ask you to pay particular attention to the stats involving mental health, because a great deal of what's happening in our communities is related to mental health. And actually even trauma that people experienced when they were children. If they were beaten a lot by their parents, if they were sexually assaulted by an adult, these kinds of things always just sort of stay inside you, and then they percolate up. I call because they're there, but they're like dormant, and then as you get older, you get harder, or you get more conditioned to it, or you think it's okay to do it, or you want to strike back and hurt somebody because of the way they hurt you. And those are the kinds of things that we really have to be careful about. So um, depending on what you do, whether you're religious or not religious or what, you can pray on it, but you can also seek counseling. Do not get yourself in the criminal justice system. Trust me, it's just awful, awful, awful. You and it's very difficult to get out depending on where you are. Okay. Having said that, that's enough about crime and stuff like that. Let's talk about the things that are happening in the world these days. Well, I guess this week, last weekend rather, we saw the crash of two major banks in America, Signature Bank and the I can't call it. What is wrong with my brain? Um, it's the technology bank in San Francisco that has gotten all of the attention. And I've watched a lot of media concerning this, and I'm very concerned about it because what concerns me the most, and I don't know if you agree with me, is that the United States government went in and bailed them out. Duh! Since when does the government come in and bail out a failing business? Every depositor has FDIC insurance automatically, up to $250,000. So when I go to a bank and I put money in a bank, I know that. I know what the limit is. If the bank goes belly up, I'm only going to get if I've got 500,000 in there, I'm only going to get 250,000. So that's why you have different accounts in different banks, so you can always get all your money. But these guys and ladies in California and even in New York just roll the dice. Some of them had like $80 million in the bank. Some businesses and so forth. I'm talking about personal money. 80 million, as a personal asset. And many had many more millions in terms of business investments. The bank was completely and totally mismanaged. It was what I call Holly weird in terms of the way they were doing things. They weren't following the regulations. They weren't doing what they were supposed to do. They were over leveraged. They spent lots of money on things that had nothing to do with banking, like discrimination, equity, and inclusion. $5 million, $5 billion, I think. I've forgotten. Anyway, bottom line is that banking is an exact science. Money is it's a counting thing. We know how to count and we know how to leverage risk and how to avoid risk. But apparently the bank didn't do that. And guess what? All those guys who are bankers were making millions. They have $1 million estates. They have $1 million houses and properties that they got as a result of mismanaging the bank. So why, tell me why, would the president of the United States, in less than 24 hours after the two banks failed, why would he be on TV saying that he was going to make all depositors good? He doesn't do that for our business. If my business loses money, then he doesn't come in and say we're going to make it good because of my mismanagement. I mean, everybody knows the rules when it comes to banking. There are regulatory authorities and so forth that are in place. And when you break those rules, then you lose money. But why aren't they being held accountable for their actions? Guess what? They're not. And I think probably the reason why, in part, and I've read this, I don't know that it's really true, but that most of the tech companies and most of the, particularly people in California and so forth, as you know, it's a Democratic state. So, and of course, the president is a Democrat. And that because they are Democrats and because they heavily invest in and fund the Democratic Party, they call their boy on the phone, said, "Hey, my man, I got this problem. Can you come? Can you fix this for us?" And then like Joe Biden says, "Oh man, of course I got it. I got your back. Don't worry about it." So that day, the next business day, ladies and gentlemen, we started printing money. $80 billion for the one bank in California. The governor of California, his name is Governor Newsom, owns wineries and stuff up there near Silicon, what we call Silicon Valley, where all the computer people are, all the rich people are. And he banked there. He got all his money back. Everybody that had lots and lots of money, who were all, if you will, super politically active, and in many instances Democratic, had their money in there. So When they called the White House, guess what? Biden listened, which is amazing. But let us, in our small businesses throughout America, African American businesses, our homes and so forth, let us call the bank and say we just that we don't have the money. Nobody's going to. The federal government is not going to pony up for us and give us money after we blew the company out and took all the money out of the company, which is what happened with respect to the banks. So I want you to be aware of this. I'm very concerned about it. I'm very concerned about in the fact that we have a free enterprise system where you can start a paper company. I can start a paper company. Yours may be terribly successful. I may tank mine, but there's no bailout for the person who tanked that business. Business is based on competition and certainly ethics and a whole bunch of stuff. But the bottom line is that you have to run your business well or run it, quote, profitably in order to benefit from it. You can't just lose all your money and then have the government come in, print a whole bunch of new money, and then you're made whole. That is absolutely anti-American, and in addition to that, it's also very bad business. So, but that's what we did this week. Last weekend, can you imagine? And so they just called their boy. They called the president, and he said, and he said, "Attaboy, I got your back." And so that's very troubling to me because none of the rest of us have access either to capital or to influence or power in that way. Another thing that happened this week that was of great concern to me. And before I tell you what that is, and I think it's going to be of concern to you too, let me again say that you're watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. I'm attorney Linda Bernard. This is Chop It Up with attorney Linda Bernard. You can watch us, listen to us, comment on us, let us know what you think on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, everything, every social media platform. And I urge you to do that. But back to current affairs and what's troubling to me, and I think it's troubling to all women, is that this week, as you know, March is the month for women. I mean, it's Women's Month. This is it. Like Black History Month is now Women's Month. And a week ago at the White House, the president's staff, I think it was one of the secretaries in his cabinet, I can't remember which one it was a man though, who gave the Woman of the Year award to a person that the administration had decided should have that award. The person they decided to give it to, because everybody is, I hate the word woke, because I don't think they're woke at all. I think they're asleep at the wheel, quite frankly, because the direction that we're going, it just makes no sense. The woman they decided to, quote, the person they decided to give it to was a transgender woman. Now, we use the word transgender quite a bit in America. No one else in the world uses this word because there was a name for this before we decided, quote, it was cool to be trans. And let me just say this to you. I'm a Christian and I'm a Catholic. And I was raised in Catholic school my whole life. So I was taught, even as a child, that you don't mutilate your body. That this is God's temple. God made this temple, and you don't do anything to it. Let me tell you how bad it was in Catholic school. If you got your ears pierced, putting a hole in your ear was considered mutilation. And you were not allowed to put a hole in your ear. You could wear clip-on earrings, but no holes. No holes in your ears even. They were no tattoos, because tattooing changes the surface of the skin, the color that God made it. That was the thought. This is way back when when I was in grade school. We all learned that. So I didn't really even get my ears pierced until I was over 25, because I was I still believe that it is mutilation. I understand that, but it was a tiny mutilation, not a big deal mutilation. And so now, of course, everybody's everybody's all tattooed up and everything. So, that's become acceptable as well. That you can put ink on your body if you want to. And if you want to wear an earring, you can put a tiny hole in your earlobe to wear an earring. So, but getting back to what happened at the White House, the person they picked was a person who was transgender. What a woman that was born as a man. And in order to become the woman, under Catholic teachings, she had to mutilate herself. I mean, his penis had to be removed. His testicles had to be removed. He had to start taking hormones to reduce sometimes body hair, etc., and hormones to make his chest bigger so they could put implants in it up here, so he'd have breasts more similar to those of a woman. Although many men do have male breasts anyway, but anyway, but to have real breasts, like for a brassiere, that kind of thing. He had to take hormones to remove any facial hair, a lot of body hair, or just keep cutting it off every week. All of these things were done to what I was raised to believe was God's temple, and so under the Catholic Church. Now I don't know, I don't know the Torah. I don't know what the Jewish community says. I don't know what the Muslim Quran says, or the Muslim community says. But I do know that there's certain things in all three of those books that are sort of like universal truths, like thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal. That's what we say in the Ten Commandments. But those same thoughts, those same precepts are present in those other great, great books. So I don't know. I know what the Catholics and what the Christians felt about this, but I don't know what other faiths feel, the Torah or the Quran. So perhaps we can do a show on that one day. But to cut off your body parts, create, I guess, fake parts, you got to do it, I guess, with plastic or silicone or something, and then have say, okay, I'm no longer a man, I'm a girl, and then become the woman that is the quote woman that is honored in the White House. To me, was very disturbing, and I say that because there are a lot of women in this world who are very deserving of being honored at the White House, and hopefully some of you are watching this broadcast. And if you're not a woman watching it, then you have mothers, you have grandmothers, you have aunties, you have friends, you have wives that are I'm sure that are great women and that have done wonderful things in their life. And I was very disturbed as a woman, as a person, as a Christian, as a Catholic, as a person with a moral compass, that this occurred and that our government did this. People obviously could, and let me just tell you this one other thing. As I thought about it, because that day it was just, I just was so shocked by the whole situation. If I'm with you right now at your house, or in this station, or wherever I am, and I take a knife, I don't have a knife, but anyway, but I take and cut off my finger, because I say, and I have then 4 fingers, and I say then, I don't think I need. I cut off my finger because I don't need this finger. I only need this. Sort of useless. It doesn't do anything. Sometimes you put a ring on it. It doesn't have any strength in it. So I'm getting rid of this finger. I cut off that finger right now. The first thing you're going to do is call 911, and the first thing that 911 is going to do when they get here is they're going to take me to the hospital, and they're going to put me where? In the psych ward, because there's something wrong when a person decides to self-mutilate. Something's wrong with me. Something's really wrong. I need to go. They will try to put the finger back on. If they can't, they'll bandage up my hand, and they're sending me to the psych ward in the hospital. because it's not natural uh, to mutilate yourself. Now, I'm going to have someone on to talk about this because I don't understand it and I want to understand it. That doesn't mean that I think it's that I'm ever probably going to think that it's right or moral or even godly, uh, because I tell everyone there are only three things in the world that are important. When I speak before kids and stuff like that, and I ask them, I say, "What's important?" They say, "Oh, well, having money, having a car, having a house, having a this, having a that." I say, "Nope, nope, 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 nope. There are only three things in the world that are truly important, in my opinion. The first is God's blessings. And you know you have that because you woke up this morning. God blessed you with a day of life and air and everything. That's number one. So you're awake. Number two is your health. The fact that I'm breathing on my own and hopefully you are as well, and we can walk on our own even though my knee is broken and I have to walk slow, still my health. I still have my health. And you can't buy health. Billionaires die because from disease. There's just no way. It's a blessing from God to have your health. And I tell people, even if I don't have any money, and let's say I want to go to California, and I don't have any money, I can walk there because I have what? My health. I can put one foot in front of the other. It may take me a year and a half to get there, but I can get there because I have God's blessing. He woke me up that day. Two, I have my health. And then the third thing that's important is your freedom. Nothing on my ankle goes ding, ding, ding when I hit the state line or alarm somewhere. I'm not confined to a 6x9 room in a prison. I have my freedom. Those three things are the most important things in the world. God's blessings, your health, and your freedom. And they can't be bought. So, my point is that when this person who received the Woman of the Year award in the White House there, from the president's staff, did that, she imperiled one of her most precious gifts, and that is her health. Because I just think that the number of hormones you take, the number of things you have to do to get rid of body hair, if you're a man, something to get rid of your Adam's apple, if you're a man, to learn even how to use the bathroom sitting down, if you're a man. All of these things, all of the stuff you have to take every day, all the pills, the anti-rejection stuff you have to take, imperils your health. It really, really does. So, I understand wanting to be something that you aren't. I wanted to be a great singer, but I have no talent to sing. I understand that, and I understand that we only have one life. But the most important thing that you can do in this one life is preserve your health, your freedom, and always act in accordance with God's will so that you'll have God's blessings. So that was disturbing to me this week. I'm not that, and I think it's disturbing to cultures, to various cultures around the world. My grandmother had an expression. She used to say, in terms of Americans, in terms of me and you and everybody, you're not a wise man and everybody else a damn fool. What we see happening at the White House a week ago could only happen in America. That would not have happened in any other 167 countries. I think there are 147, 167 countries in the world. That could not happen in any other country in the world. So maybe we think we're the wise men, but as my grandmother used to say, everybody else is not a damn fool. So I want you to keep that in mind as you're looking at the things that are happening within our country, and within society. Don't misunderstand my comments. People who are gay, who are adults, have a right to be gay. I tell everyone, I don't care what people do, as long as it doesn't involve children or animals, because I don't believe in anything that hurts an animal or engages in an animal. But adults can do whatever adults want to do. And I have no problem whatsoever with it. And I understand. I think that although there are many countries in the world that do not accept that, I do not believe that it's appropriate under any circumstances to torture them, hurt them, violate a person who decides to be gay on their own. As a matter of fact, my magazine just came out. My House Beautiful just came yesterday, and on the cover was Nate Berkus, the guy who just does interiors of houses. Him and his husband, and their two children. They adopted a little girl and a little boy, and so Nate and his male husband are together, right on the front cover of the magazine. That's very common now in the United States, as we know. I don't have any problem. I don't pass any judgment about that, because it goes along with my rule, which is that as long as it doesn't involve children or animals, I'm okay with it. In terms of what consenting adults decide to do. But I try to keep that adult age not at 18 and not even at 21, but like at 25, where you really have had a chance to experience life in your own skin and in your own way. So those are the kinds of things that have occurred this week that troubled me. And so I want to know what you think. You have to call me and let me know what you think. Uh, and and also answer my questions about what's appropriate in the Jewish community, what's appropriate in the Muslim community, because I don't know the Quran. I'd like to know what other non-Christian religions say about these things. So now, let's talk a little bit about business. We haven't talked about business today. And again, you're watching Chop It Up with attorney Linda Bernard. This is WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the entire world. You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, any and all social media platforms. So I hope you're enjoying us today, and I hope I have not certainly offended anyone by pointing out these things that are related to me and my faith on this particular broadcast. But okay, let's talk a little bit about business in the city of Detroit. I hope all of you, if none of you had a chance to see the State of the City address by Mayor Duggan, I urge you to do so. It was extraordinarily enlightening. Number one, did you know that there's going to be a Joe Louis Greenway, that we're building a Joe Louis that's going to connect all the neighborhoods in the city of Detroit? So you'll be able to get on one path, riding your bicycle or whatever, or walking, and go from the riverfront all the way down to East Detroit, to up near Southfield. Every neighborhood is going to be connected by the Joe Louis Greenway. And there's like a park on each side of the pavement, and there'll be flowers and trees and everything, and of course some benches along the way that will allow you to rest if you get tired of walking. I don't think I could walk it, but it'll be interesting to see who can do it on bicycles and so forth. So that's just one of the things that's occurring. We're also moving into a much heavier area regarding technology because of electric cars. Some of the streets on the diagram that the mayor proposed, where the pavement, the black asphalt, rather than that asphalt being there will be like plates there. Metal plates, like a big metal thing this long, as long as possible and wide. And that plate will electrically charge an electric car. So when you park there, you don't need the thing that you stick into the car. It will be able to energize, if you will, energize your car's battery. It'll be filling up your battery while you're parked over the plate in the street. Now that's kind of cool, I thought. The other things that we're doing relate to that the city is doing relate to neighborhood improvements. I've talked at length earlier about the police department, and as far as I can see, for the most part, I mean, I have some issues with the police department, like certainly the scanning of license plates and sort of pre-check stops, things like that. But we're working on that. But the most department and the fire department is doing a very, very good job as well. But the people in people in the community need more access to housing, which is a major problem in the city of Detroit. I think it's a problem for two reasons. One is because of poverty, and then the other reason is because of some tenants significantly neglect and or abuse their property, which means that ultimately they're subject to eviction, and there's no place now to go. I mean that rents are really way up in the city of Detroit, like they are downtown and everywhere else. But even in the neighborhoods, the rents are up. Of course, taxes are high. Property needs a certificate of compliance. So and that's $350 a year, in addition to all your taxes. So people are very concerned about this, and I'm concerned about it as a former public interest lawyer and head of neighborhood legal services for 16 years. That's my client base. That's the people that I help. Those are the people that I've done all I could to make sure that they have, safe housing, clean housing, and that it meets their needs. But having said that, if there's also an obligation on the tenant, and you're seeing more of that now in the courts. They're not allowing tenants to. People can be evicted not just for non-payment of rent, but just because I want my property back. I simply want possession. You had the use of it, now I want it back. Because you don't know what, I may want to do something else with it. I may want to move in myself. I may want to use it as my my workshop. But it's my house. So therefore I have the ability to reclaim my property. And you see and hear a lot of that right now in all of the district courts throughout southeastern Michigan, where most of the rental property in the state of Michigan is. So I urge people who are tenants to take good care of their property so that their landlord will not move to evict them, because there really aren't a lot of places out here where you can move to. They're building some places. The mayor stated it in his State of the Union address. There's going to be townhouses and apartments. Most of the new construction will request that they have 20% what they call affordable units, as well as the other market rate units. But having said that, the affordable generally means that you have to have a job, and generally they're looking for Section 8 certificates, where you're paying, let's say, $400 a month, and Section 8 is picking up the other $600. So housing is very important. If you can, I just heard today interest rates are going down a little bit, like 0.5%, I think to 6.5%. If you can qualify for a mortgage, get a mortgage, move into your own house. Of course, you have a whole different set of bills, and you have taxes, utilities, etc. But move, if you can, into a house now while you still can. The property in Detroit has gone up astronomically. So please try to own your own property and get the benefits of that and stop being a tenant. But if you are a tenant, please take care of the property and so forth that you are in. So I'd like to let you know that I think that that's our, I think that ding 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 I hear means that our time is up. I look forward to seeing you again next week. It's Attorney Linda Bernard. Chop It Up with Attorney Linda Bernard. Come on back. I look forward to seeing you next week at 11 a.m. from 11 to 11:55. Have a great day.